in the middle of an amazing Optech again. Can we start with a couple of quick icebreakers so everyone can get to know you?
Sure.
Okay, first job.
I worked at the St. Louis Zoo, home of over 2,800 mammals, birds, reptiles, fish, and invertebrates.
Nice.
I can still spout that off for you.
Yeah, no
So I worked
kidding.
in the gift shop there.
That was still fresh as well.
Exactly.
Any pets?
I have a dog, a 13-year-old sweet Labradoodle named Diamond, and then we have a second dog that my daughter in college has named Hudson. He is the grumpy old man, and Diamond is the sweetie Petey.
Amazing. When you're not working incredibly hard on advocacy and innovation in our industry, favorite hobbies?
I love to ski. I'm a big hiker. So you'll find me hiking and biking to some extent, to the extent possible, or you'll find me in the yoga studio or the Pilates studio. So anything active, physical, are big things for me.
We should try and get you out to Bend.
Ah, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Go-to karaoke song?
I have two, really. Kiki D and Elton John, Don't Go Breaking My Heart, which I do as a duo with my daughter and my daughter only. Or I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
Amazing. Okay, that's fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so a lot going on. A lot to talk about.
A lot going on. I'm looking around, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot of action. I hope the mic is picking up on the buzz in the background as well.
I hope so, because it's palpable.
Tell us some of the emerging trends that you're seeing in our industry. We'll talk more about like the technology side to start, and then maybe move more into the advocacy side a little bit later on. But emerging trends that you're seeing right now on the technology side for our industry.
Well, I think we're all trying to solve something that's really become much more apparent during COVID, which is how do we help support our customers, which are renters, in their journey to provide housing for them and in their journey as keeping housing, maintaining housing. And really, we're still in that recovery mode coming out of COVID. It was incredibly disruptive to people's lives and their communities. So a lot of the technology we're seeing, I really love this, is thinking through that resident journey. When we started with Optech, maybe 20 years ago, much of it was very inwardly focused and talking about how do we help the operator, how are we helping improve outcomes and NOIs, and the conversation was always very inwardly focused. Over time, we've become much more concerned about our end user and how do we support them, because in doing that, that's how we are supporting our bottom line. So it's a little bit of a different conversation that we've seen in the past.
Everything's changing so rapidly, and you'd argue like accelerating.
Yes.
So what do you see 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Like what are the next trends that you're trying to get ahead of, right? Like a big part of what you're doing at NMHC is looking forwards and anticipating the next things.
I asked the robot this question yesterday, Amica. So we had a robot here, and Kevin Donnelly and I did a little conversation with the robot. But I think, and Kevin and I actually said this when we got off stage to each other, that was an interesting exercise. We had a little interview, and the AI-powered robot responded to some questions that we had, and they were not pre-programmed. Our questions, we're trying to stick pretty tight to a script to make sure we didn't trigger something within the robot, but the robot was making those responses in real time. And it was remarkable to me. We rehearsed it with the robot in the morning, and then when we did the presentation in the afternoon, how different the responses were and how much better the responses were. Wow. They were tighter, they were quicker, they were much more focused. So I said to Kevin as we got off stage, 5 years from now, we're going to look back at what we thought was this really innovative thing and be like, oh my gosh, that was like silly technology, right? Yeah. We've come such a long way. But the question I asked the robot yesterday, which I think is the question on the table that nobody really wants to get to yet, and we're not there yet, is what is the right balance between human intervention and AI and all these technology-enabled opportunities that we now have. Yeah. And it's going to take us a while to figure that out. And it's both what makes sense from a business perspective. We also have challenges in our workforce, so we know that's continues to be a factor. But I see this in my 20 and 22-year-old daughters. What are our new customers really expecting? And many of them do not necessarily want that interpersonal conversation. They don't necessarily want to go to the management office between 9 and 5. Yep. They really want more technology-enabled solutions for themselves. So that's going to be a really interesting conversation moving forward, and we're going to have to let go of some things in order to move the ball forward.
You know, it's funny because we're also seeing like a changing of the guard in our industry as well, right? We have this next generation coming into our industry that is used to new buying habits, modern buying habits, right? You, like your daughter's age, right there, they're now coming in with very different expectations of what service looks like. And okay, shifting gears a tiny bit. So you launched RETC. Tell us the impetus behind that. It's very exciting for the industry.
So it seems like it's just happened, but we've been working on this. This is a year and a half in the making.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of things. First of all, it's just the continued evolution of technology in our work at Optech. NMHC has long been active in this space for more than 20 years through Optech, but also it's become a bigger and bigger part of our advocacy work as well. We've seen over the last couple of years some laser focus both at the federal level but also at state and local about how technology interplays with that housing relationship. Again, this is part of the post-COVID conversation. And we have come at this from our core membership at NMHC, which are owner, developer, managers, operators, investors in the housing space. We realize that because the technology is moving so fast, we really need to bring technology providers on equal footing to the table to be having those conversations and helping us formulate our advocacy positions, because really they are the experts in what's happening next.
Yeah.
So the idea for RETC was to really create a separate home for that group. And it doesn't mean that our owner developer managers, we have many of them involved in RETC, and they will continue to be involved in NMHC, and our technology partners will continue to be involved in NMHC as well as RETC. But it gives us another brand and another voice that's speaking from kind of a different angle about the same issues. We're going to continue to advocate in both organizations on many of the same conversations, but one will lead and one will follow and vice versa, depending on what the circumstances.
I was lucky enough to sit in on the steering committee.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just full of industry leaders.
Yes.
So you have the right people supporting this. And obviously the need is shown, right? Like to have that caliber of people around that table. We're excited about it. We're excited about the change.
And we've set the framework up, and we have a foundation because we've long had committees in the technology space. But what happens next? This is a membership organization like NMHC. It has to be directed, its program of work, and our service has to be what our members want and need. So the next step with that steering committee, it's not an entire blank slate, but it's kind of a blank slate. We're looking for ideas of what's value add to folks that work in this space. What are the things that we can do to be more supportive, and then to help us formulate that advocacy agenda to create the environment, the ecosystem, so businesses in this space can thrive.
Yeah. Sharon, it used to be that multifamily was viewed as kind of a technology laggard. Mm-hmm. I think thanks to your efforts and several others, I don't believe that to be the case anymore. No. Innovation's very rapidly accelerating in our space. We're sitting here in what is coined as the Futures Lab, right, and there's just a huge amount of activity in the background. How do we better support innovation at a time of acceleration?
Well, this is one step. We have not had a Futures Lab before. We have off and on had different startup companies come to the table and spend some time with us at Optech. This is the first time we've created a dedicated space just to beginning ideas and germs of idea, and helping to facilitate connections not just with people who are going to be end users of their product eventually, but also with people that can help finance that move. So we've done a little bit of both here. And so far I've been in here a number of times. I've seen a lot of people in and out. It's like all ideas. If you have a germ of an idea for something, what do you need? You need people to build on that idea. Yeah. And this is a place where we can have that building and that interaction, so these startups can then go back and be like, hey, I talked to owner, developer, manager XYZ. They said, hey, it'd be great if your product could do this. I'm going to start thinking about that. So it's really a way to move that acceleration along and see the support for the work that we're doing.
One of the fun things I've seen out of this hall specifically is the interaction between vendors too. Mm-hmm. Like we're starting to see the kind of partnership ecosystem really take shape. And I think that may be just a brilliant byproduct of what you've done here in the Futures Lab.
I think it is, but I also like to think that it is part of the culture of NMHC kind of moving into the technology space. Yeah. NMHC has long been a very collaborative effort among what people would perceive as competitors.
Yep.
And even coming over here 2 years ago, I was really struck by that level, not just of collegiality, but genuine friendship and partnership among people that could be competitors. It's really just nice to see. And I feel like in the technology space, we're starting to see that as well. Because I think we all know no one organization is going to have the one penultimate solution that is going to solve for all of the things we need to solve for. Yeah. So increasingly, too, people are looking about the interoperability, the integration, the collaboration that they can have, so people see that they need others to be successful in this ecosystem.
You're really fostering a great environment here. I mean, yourself and Kevin and Sarah, like your team have done an amazing job, and it's evident in here as well.
We try.
Okay, so let's shift gears a tiny bit. So a huge part of your focus is on the technology, the innovation side, the RETC side. Another huge part of the focus is the advocacy side. I know you're all heading to the Hill later on.
Right.
Election year.
Yes.
Election years can introduce a fair amount of turbulence. In terms of just policy, what are the priorities for NMHC coming into next year?
Well, we continue to be focused on housing supply / housing affordability. Those two things are a yin and a yang for us. We know that we are somewhere between 3 million and 7 million units short today, and our population is continuing to grow. Wow. So we know we need to solve for that problem. And frankly, no matter what segment of the market you're serving, the higher income, the middle income, the lower income, we have shortages in all of those spots. It's most acute at that affordable level and pretty acute at that middle income level as well. So if we as an industry don't come up with solutions to solve that problem, someone's going to try to impose solutions that aren't going to be effective. Yeah. And will have, unfortunately, the opposite effect, which is to pull financial investment away from multifamily housing. We're back and forth on doing a lot of education, particularly around rent regulation. That's a proposed policy solution that's been around for 40 or 50 years. It has been proven time and time again for data, not just in the US, but for decades of data in other countries, that it does not work and it has the opposite effect. It actually hurts the people that need to be served the most, people of color and people of modest means. And so, but we need to do more education around that. A lot of politicians are raising that because voters are very focused on that. Yeah. So in terms of how that plays out in an election year, people are using housing as a lever to leverage votes. Almost all national polls show housing as the number 2 issue for voters this election season, right behind the economy, generally speaking. It's the number 1 issue in a number of swing states, which is fascinating as well. So we now we're having a moment where housing has never been such an important issue. So we're having a moment. The election isn't necessarily one way or the other going to change that moment, which is housing is an important issue. Government at the federal, state, and local level needs to help us come up with solutions to create the housing that Americans need. So while the election's going to be tight, and it will just change how we approach those solutions, but it won't change our issue at all. The facts still remain the facts. We need more housing supply and more housing affordability and a regulatory environment that can enhance that.
Thank you for your advocacy on that front. I know our industries, I don't think, ever faced more levels of scrutiny than today because of the housing crisis. Right. So it is the moment, and you're right, it will continue as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you never let a good crisis go to waste, and then we're very focused on let's solve some problems now while people are focused on it.
Okay, shifting gears. We're excited to partner with you. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about kind of the RETC and revised partnership and what both owner operators and maybe vendors can expect to see as well.
I mean, we've been talking to you guys for a couple of years now, and through our relationship at Optech and some other things. What I think you're doing at Revise is really a next level of where Optech started. So Optech was really founded on let's get some technology out there, let's advance some ideas and how technology can be part of the solution for folks. What you guys are doing is taking it to the next level. Okay, now we have a lot of technology out in that space. How do we organize it better? How do we get information to people about the kinds of technology we have? How do we share information among organizations in a better way? So, and that's a lot of what we want to do at RETC as well. We want to be a solution for owner, developer, managers, but also technology companies. So the work that we're working on, it provides an umbrella for us to do that.
Thank you also for the partnership. We're excited.
No, absolutely.
Sharon, thank you. Wonderful spending time with
thank
you.
you.
Thanks for sharing the message with everyone. And we're excited to share a lot of Optech wrap-ups from here. A lot of people have amazing things to say about the show this year.
Great.
So-
No, and thank you guys for your partnership as well. Having you guys do the podcast from here has been a great ad, and we really appreciate your thought leadership too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.